How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. I know many by now know that some earthquakes have hit Jamaica and Cuba, but it has been felt in Miami. So I do what I normally do, my royal family. You don't have to worry. I keep up with my current events. But I have learned that it's best to give some time for these events to play itself out. And I can give y'all a complete story on what is going down. I don't like to half-ass do anything for the royal family. I'm going to give y'all the best to my ability. So I was talking to Lisa Cabrera, and we were talking about this because she was the one that actually told me. And then because we a lot of us bloggers behind the scenes, we'll let each other know things because we can't keep up with everything, but trust and believe we're gonna find out if we stay current. So the first thing that hit me when she said that, my first thought was this. I thought out loud to her and I said, I wonder how is it have where they're going to have the Super Bowl at, is it going to affect the stadium? And lo and behold, and this is the only one I found so far, earthquake near Jamaica jolts Miami Super Bowl. How it impact 49ers Chiefs. I was like, yeah, they always worried about their bottom line. They always worried about their bottom line because they don't want nothing to mess up their gravy chain. And so that's why I put the title that I put, because there is some concerns. And so this sister in here said the quakes were so strong it impact was felt in Miami, Florida, which is home to the Super Bowl. What this would be Super Bowl number 54, including a building connected to where the 49ers are also staying. I walked by several groups of people standing outside as a result of the related evacuation. Some people told me they were told to leave because they felt the building sway some. If it's sway, that's major. That's a structure. All structures have a weak point. I'm telling you something I know. Anybody that's new to the True Royal family or True Royal, I have a construction background. I was a welder for 17 years, so I know some things. So, they're going to keep that on the low because they don't want anybody to be fully alerted about what's going down. Well, these videos that I'm going to present to the royal family, mainly in this country, specifically down in Florida, they are with intensity reporting this. If it's not really affecting them, what's really going on? Y'all worried about them coins?
Scare comes after a series of quakes in Puerto Rico that started in December. News 6's Troy Campbell joins us now live with some perspective from a UCF geologist. Troy, what does he have to say about this?
Well, Matt, today's 7.7 quake comes 3 weeks after the 6.4 magnitude earthquake in Puerto Rico. Witnesses today saying they felt the impact of that earthquake from hundreds of miles away.
These images out of Jamaica showing signs swaying inside of a store near the epicenter of a massive 7.7 earthquake Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, 7.7 is pretty unusual. So we haven't had one of that magnitude since 1787.
University of Central Florida Associate Professor and Coastal Geologist Joseph Donahue saying today's earthquake off the coast of Jamaica is among the strongest on record to shake the Cayman Island region.
Because they can cause tsunamis, so there's a double risk. A big enough earthquake on the ocean floor can rock the land as well.
The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center alerting waves could be as high as 3 feet after the quake on the ocean floor. Nearly 500 miles away in downtown Miami, several high-rise buildings evacuating, with people entering the streets after feeling the tremors.
So around 2 o'clock, I felt the building shaking a little bit. Along the window, the cords were banging up against the wall, and then we got an email to evacuate the building.
Dr. Donahue says today's earthquake is on the same fault as the recent quakes that have hit Puerto Rico. So far, we have not received any word of significant damage. Live in the newsroom tonight, Troy Campbell, Getting Results, News 6.
Troy, thank you. Scary for a lot of people. Find out how many quakes have hit since December and what other experts believe may be causing the spike. You'll find it inside Troy's story on the homepage of clickorlando.com.
All right, my royal family, let's take that down. And I'm just going to take this one down just in case it creep up and do one of them pop-ups. So let me take that down. So we're going to get a little deeper into it. I pray, because the sound is somewhat low on my end, but I got everything cranked up.
Has been an earthquake. The U.S. Geological Survey says a powerful 7.7 earthquake has struck south of Cuba and northwest of Jamaica. Now it was
All right, we're going to pull one of these stunts.
about 73 miles northwest of Lucia, Jamaica. Now, it's not clear immediately if there were any damages or injuries. Now, we do know that some of those aftershocks have been felt all the way here in Broward and Miami-Dade County. Right now, let's get over to meteorologist Angie Lastman for a look at the scientific part of all of this. Angie.
All right, Trina, let's talk about where exactly this falls on the magnitude tracker. We showed you this when we were talking about the Puerto Rico earthquake a couple of weeks ago. This actually is considered a strong earthquake. You can see where it falls. It can cause serious damage. Now, this was over water. If we show you exactly what we mean, if we flip back over to our Max computer, you can see exactly where this was located. Trina said 77 miles northwest of Lucia, Jamaica, in between Cuba and Jamaica. So both of those areas definitely feeling some shaking from it. We do have a report. I want to just show you some of that areas that, or talk to you about some of the areas that we likely are seeing the potential for tsunami waves up to 3 feet. That would include the Cayman Islands, Cuba, Jamaica. We see parts like Cozumel, Mexico. We see Honduras in there, Belize, city of Belize. So there are definitely potentially some waves up to 3 feet. So something that you'll want to stay away from the waters if you have anyone that is in that area, something that you'll want to note. Additionally, this looks like it was a side-to-side kind of motion. So the tsunami threat not all that high when we're considering that we aren't seeing upward motion from the ground, the ocean floor. Now, this was in between two plates, the Caribbean plate and the North American plate. You can see exactly where I'm showing you right there. There's that 7.7 magnitude earthquake, again, south of Cuba, northwest of Jamaica, happening just a little while ago. We did get reports that it was felt, the shakes, as far north as St. Petersburg. We also heard some reports from parts of South Florida, downtown Miami, Fort Lauderdale, those ranging about 2 to 3 as far as that's concerned. So not quite as strong, not likely any damage from that, but we do know that some folks were being evacuated from those taller buildings. Likely to see some damage in Cuba and Jamaica, possibly surrounding areas as well. So we'll keep you updated with this. For now, Trina, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Angie, for that update. And let me ask you this. Will the waters or anything locally be picking up, and could we feel some aftershocks from this as we go through the afternoon?
Yeah, well, you know, with these kind of things, with earthquakes, evolving situations, so likely some aftershocks in this area. That's often something that we see. Hard to predict those, but we will keep a close eye from the USGS. They always do a really good job of giving us some perspective on this. As far as our waters, we don't have a tsunami warning in effect. There's no tsunami threat here locally in South Florida.
All right, very good. Angie, thank you so much. And of course, we're going to continue to follow this. Right now, we're looking at a building. This is Dadeland, and a couple of buildings there had been evacuated as a precaution because, yeah, and so Steve Litz is on the ground there. We're going to go to him in just a second. He's in downtown Miami. This is Dadeland, and I know for a fact that the Daytran building, the Daytran Media building in downtown Dayland was evacuated. They asked everyone to leave that building. So, of course, firefighters and other emergency responders are going through buildings where they had those shocks and basically checking to see if everybody's out, if everybody's okay. And of course, if any of these were strong enough, they may have to check eventually for structural damage. So right now, let's go to Steve Litz. He's in downtown Miami. He's got the very latest on the trembles people felt there. Steve.
I got to tell you, Trina, it is news to people here in downtown Miami. I've probably talked to about a half a dozen people here just within the last 15 or 20 minutes. Nobody has felt a tremor. Nobody has felt the earth move at all. And when I'm asking people if they felt that, they're looking at me like I'm crazy. First, look over here. This is one things up here, and you know, when there was a crew that was going up. Apparently to clean some windows or access the top, and they were harnessing up, Trina, and I looked over to those guys and I said, hey, you guys are headed up, is that right? They said, yeah. And I said, you didn't feel any kind of tremor, no shaking of the ground? No, they said that they had no idea what I was talking about. Ross, we'll go over here. This is, again, I'm at Bayfront Park, guys, and that's the Super Bowl live event, not open yet, but again, we're seeing people walk around here as if nothing happened because, again, best to our knowledge and best to the eyewitnesses' account that we're talking to over here, nothing did happen around here. Again, we are getting word that some buildings in the region are being evacuated. I talked to at least one police officer who did say, yes, in fact, that the government center, the Miami-Dade County Government Center here, which is just around the corner, maybe less than a mile away from here, is being evacuated. He heard that on his radio, but he said he didn't understand why. And then I said, well, we're getting reports of an earthquake. And he looked at me like I was crazy. He didn't feel anything. And so again, guys, it is business as usual here in downtown Miami with nobody down here even flickering at the notion that an earthquake happened in this area. Super Bowl Live is expected to open up a little later today. And, you know, it is business as usual here in downtown Miami. And I got to tell you, I mean, I don't have to tell you, I'm standing around buildings that are, you know, 20, 30, 40 stories high. And you got to think, if something were going on down here, if there were a tremor, if there were a shake, people would be streaming out of these buildings. But again, Trina, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio. We're not seeing anything like that here in downtown, Trina, and we're hoping things stay that way.
We most certainly are, Stephen. Thank you so much. And again, with earthquakes, they can be selective as to where folks feel the tremors. You can have it in one place and nothing in another, then you could have catastrophic damage. Now, right now we're seeing people huddled outside, and I believe this is back in Dayland. We've gone back down to that area, looking live as folks have evacuated a building there, an apartment building. Guys, talk to me in my ear. Exactly what's the location? Okay, so you saw that area that we're taking from Chopper 6 where people are assembling outside. Apparently they did feel some trembles there, and we have had reports that in the Dayland, there's the Daytran building I was telling you about earlier. They asked everyone to get out of that building because apparently they did feel the shakes there, and so everyone was asked to leave. You've got first responders on the scene. Doesn't look like any kind of injuries. Luckily, probably this far away from those two faults that Angie talked about, the Caribbean fault and then the other fault. Probably we will only get like a few shakes. So right now we're looking at where this is kind of the center of where it happened. And let's go right to a lady by the name of Barbara Scarlett, actually in Kingston, Jamaica, said that she felt tremors, but she doesn't know of any injuries. So we're going to wrap right now. Of course, we're on top of this. We're going to have a full report starting at 4 o'clock. And right now you can go to the NBC.
Oh, right, my royal family. I know the volume was low, and I have no power what happens on their end, but I felt it was extremely necessary to play that particular video because there are people coming in for the Super Bowl, and they quietly check in that stadium to see if there's been any damages. Then you got high rise swaying. I know, you know, some people will say that the word is not real, and I don't know Bible scriptures, but I remember when me and Lioness were having Bible study, she was talking about our Father did not want us to build extremely tall buildings. That speaks volumes. The enemy ain't learned nothing yet. It's all about their bottom line and greed. as we continue on. I want y'all to listen to this. What causes the recent earthquakes in they should have said Caribbeans, or they should have said around the world or on the islands, more so the islands. So let's hear what they have to say. This is a little over 3 minutes.
People are bracing for aftershocks today following a 7.7 magnitude earthquake off the coasts of Jamaica, Cuba, and the Cayman Islands yesterday. The shaking could be felt in Florida. Earlier this month, a less powerful quake caused major damage in Puerto Rico, and the island is still experiencing aftershocks. Joining us now is Gavin Hayes. He is a seismologist at the U.S. Geological Survey. Hi, Gavin.
Hi.
And how would you describe what is happening along those faults that run beneath the Caribbean?
So what we're seeing in Puerto Rico and yesterday near the Cayman Islands is an expression of where the North America plate collides with the Caribbean plate. There's a long plate boundary north of Puerto Rico and directly through where yesterday's earthquake occurred. And over time, that plate boundary builds up stresses and we get earthquakes on faults aligned with those plate boundary structures.
So is the earthquake that we saw yesterday related to the one that struck Puerto Rico on January 7th?
They're related in that they're occurring close to the same plate boundary. The Puerto Rico earthquakes were not actually on the plate boundary itself, but were caused by the stresses related to those plate motions. But they are over 800 miles apart, so they are not directly related to one another in that the Puerto Rico earthquakes did not cause the earthquakes yesterday near the Cayman Islands.
Yesterday's earthquake, the magnitude was 7.7, very powerful. Are you surprised that there wasn't major damage or more injuries?
Fortunately, the earthquake started about 100 kilometers offshore of Cuba and Jamaica, and while it did break a fault about maybe 120 miles long towards the Cayman Islands, that fault motion was still offshore, and so the shaking felt on land was less than it would have been had the earthquake been closer to land.
Is that the difference in 2010, for example, when more than 300,000 people in Haiti died from an even less powerful quake?
That's spot on, yeah. The 2010 magnitude 7.1 earthquake in Haiti was right next to Port-au-Prince, and unfortunately the less than ideal construction in that city caused the massive damage that we saw as a result of that earthquake.
So how does this area of the Earth compare seismically to others? Is it more active than a lot of other places on the globe?
The Caribbean is in general a little less active than other parts. The plates in the Caribbean are coming together at a rate of about 2 centimeters per year. So that's about a half of the rate that your fingernails grow. Compare that to, say, the San Andreas Fault in California that's moving at about the rate that your fingernails grow, or the subduction zone in South America, offshore Chile, where we've seen massive earthquakes in the past, that moves at a rate of about 7 centimeters a year, which is obviously a lot faster than this. So in places like Chile or Japan, you can get large earthquakes more frequently than we see them in the Caribbean.
There was a tsunami warning after yesterday's quake. It was later withdrawn, but generally speaking, how big is the tsunami risk in that area?
In this part of the Caribbean, specifically to the south of Cuba, the plate boundary results in horizontal motion. When we have horizontal motions, that generally doesn't cause the seafloor uplift that is required to generate a tsunami. Further to the east, near Puerto Rico and the Lesser Antilles, you do get the North America plate sinking beneath the Caribbean. So when you have large earthquakes in that part of the world, you can get the vertical motion of the seafloor that you need to generate a tsunami if the earthquake is big enough.
That's Gavin Hayes, a seismologist at the United States Geological Survey based in Colorado. Gavin, thanks for speaking with us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Peter.
All right, my royal family.
Nasty claws.
Oh, okay, take that down. So, I have a 22-second video so we can get a bird's eye view how strong this quake hit. Powerful 7.7 quake in the Caribbean led to evacuations in Miami. Tsunami threat. There were no immediate reports of damage or injuries. A tsunami threat has been issued, but the danger has passed. Y'all don't know that. Y'all trying to act like y'all gods.
Folks in the Caribbean are once again recovering this morning. There was a powerful magnitude 7.7 earthquake that struck in the waters between Jamaica and Cuba on Tuesday. It shook a vast area from Mexico to the United States and beyond, even prompting some evacuations in South Florida. There have been no reports of casualties or severe damage so far.
All right, so that was that. Quick, fast, in a hurry. That was that. I just wanted y'all to get that. Why is Miami so worried? But it happened over in the Caribbean and Jamaica. As we continue on, thought this would give some people some education. I live in earthquake country, and as far as I remember we would go through drills and everything. So I'm not saying I know everything about an earthquake, but when you live in earthquake country, these are the type of videos that we would get as children. All right, my royal family, that it's good to get a little bit of education and stuff. And the next video that I'm going to present is something that I've been talking about quite a bit. That the onset of an earthquake, yeah, it's scary, but what's more scary is when you feel the aftershocks. And I'm going to try to remember to put a link. I got to go research that, where they record the seismologists record these earthquakes. And I want y'all to see the thousands, not the hundreds, the thousands of aftershocks. And that is what's unsettling when you get those. I was just thinking, what's the strongest I felt? I don't think I've ever felt a 7, but I know I have felt a 6+, because I wasn't here for the Loma Prieta. I was living in Arizona at the time, and my family up here told me it was bad. It was bad. In fact, my mother, bless her heart, she was in an elevator when they had that particular one at Loma Prieta earthquake. So let's get into this last video.
When it comes to earthquakes, typically it's the 5s and the 6s and the 7s that you hear about on the news most often. But whenever you have a big earthquake like a 5 or a 6 or a 7, you're going to have aftershocks. And in some cases, these aftershocks can number in the hundreds, and they can go on for days, if not weeks beyond when an actual earthquake happens. So in just the past 2 days, each of these little flashing circles indicates where there was an aftershock from the big 7.7 that occurred, again, about this time yesterday. And a number of these have been clustered just about 46 miles due to the east and the southeast of Georgetown, there on the western side of the Cayman Islands. The point here, though, is that not all of these are strong enough that people on the Cayman Islands are able to feel them. There's like the 1s and the 2s on the Richter scale that are only perceptible by very sensitive listening equipment that is looking for little earthquakes here across the world. Now, of course, you'll recall a couple weeks ago there was a pretty big earthquake in the southwest corner of Puerto Rico, and get this. These are all the earthquakes that have happened in the past 2 days. There are still hundreds of aftershocks happening to the southwest corner of Puerto Rico. Again, each of these little flashing little white circles indicates an earthquake that has happened in the past 2 days. But remember,
Almost all of these have been too small for people on Puerto Rico to actually perceive. They're only strong enough for things like seismographs to pick up that are listening specifically for how earthquakes behave in the wake of big earthquakes like we had both in the Caribbean Sea yesterday and off the coast of southwest Puerto Rico several days ago.
All right.
When it comes to earthquakes, typically it's, the 5s and...
All right, my royal family. Let me do one more thing before I close out. Okay, we already got to that. Let me go over here.
All right, everybody.
All right.
This is Faith Jones.
Excuse me for that. Let's go over here to my True Radio channel. Y'all know I'm in a battle on the main channel. So, let's see. We'll start from the top. Okay, I reported an earthquake a week ago. In fact, let me open it. How's the royal? Okay, I reported an earthquake June 22nd, and today, January 22nd, and today is the 29th. Interesting. Okay, let's continue on. Okay. 2 weeks ago, many earthquakes have hit Puerto Rico. That was 2 weeks ago. How's the royal family? Okay. January 12th. As we continue on my royal family. Okay. We know about the volcanoes, but I'm just being specific with just the earthquakes. So far, I'm on number 3, because this one I reported, the first 2 that I showed y'all, this year alone, specifically this month. Okay, we know about the fires. Let's see here. So, as far as I can see, I'm going back just a little taste. Okay, let me go back up here. I don't want to lose sight of anything. Let's see. And I know there's more. I don't report every single thing because I know plenty in the royal family who have channels report stuff, so I try not to overlap so often and go another direction so we can get as much of the news so far. So far, I have this month alone that I can tell reported 3 earthquakes this month alone. That's a lot, and it was a lot more. I just can't recall them offhand. And so what we have been seeing lately is a lot of things going on in the universe. This pertaining just to the weather alone and the natural, unquote, disasters that are happening. Our Father is speaking volumes. And I'll tell you something else that ran across my psyche. When me and Lisa were talking about this, when she let me know about it, the first thing that hit me also was, remember the governor of Florida made a point of telling our royal family over in those islands that were hit by the hurricanes, don't come over here at all. And I said he is quite foolish, because we know that Florida gets hit with hurricanes, and there will be more to come, and they will be more intense. So it's quite interesting. But the only reason why they scrambling around, as far as I'm concerned, is they worried about them coins. They are praying, trust and believe. They are praying that this Super Bowl pop off, because they are afraid of having a strong aftershock, and they can be as stronger as a 7.7. Oh yeah, that has happened too as well. So that is what their concern is. And trust and believe, they didn't pay some people quietly to go do some deep inspection and make sure they check the plumbing, because they don't want raw sewage popping up during the Super Bowl. Another one of the enemy's holidays. That's how they treat the Super Bowl. I will not be watching it, but I will definitely be reporting the low numbers in it like I did last year. So, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.